All right, good morning. My name is Jason Ishii, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to call to order the January 3rd, 2024 public hearing of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. And the time is now 9:01.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's public hearing both virtually on Zoom and in person. The Zoom link details were included in the public hearing notice. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom or at the physical meeting location at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communications staff is hosting the Zoom portion of this hearing. Once the public hearing begins, everyone will be muted for clear audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? It seems like the board members can't turn their cameras on.
Oh,
Let's see what we can do.
okay, hold on for a second. We'll fix a technical issue.
Maybe we can try now. Did you try your videos now?
You're perfect.
Thank
You're
you.
coming on.
Ready?
Yes.
Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. This is a public in-person and virtual public hearing, so to prevent any distractions, if you are attending virtually and you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing verbal public testimony, your name will be called accordingly. If you are attending in person, when the name is called, please come to the front of the room. And if you're attending virtually, you may click the raise hand button to indicate that you wish to testify. Each testifier will be then enabled to unmute their microphone in order to provide testimony. In either case, please clearly state your name and affiliation and proceed with your testimony. Oral testimony may be limited to 3 minutes at the discretion of the presiding officer and will be accepted only on matters directly related to the public hearing subject. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the hearing will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the hearing will be reconvened Thursday, January 4th, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the same physical meeting location and virtual Zoom link as today's hearing. Thank you. Chair?
Let the record reflect the following Kaka'ako members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Member opposed, excused. Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Member Hirai. Member Hirai is excused. Member Evans.
Here and alone.
And Member Sakota.
Present.
Perfect. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide public verbal testimony on a specific agenda item are now on standby and will be permitted to provide testimony respectively. Great.
Legal basis and purpose. Today's public hearing is being convened under the provisions of chapter 15-217, the Mauka area rules, and 15-219 rules of practice and procedure, Hawaii administrative rules, and section 1-28.5, 91-3, 92-41, and 206E-5.6 Hawaii revised statutes to consider the following matter. Amendment and compilation of draft HER chapter 15-217 relating to the Mauka area rules. Title 15, chapter 217 administrative rules. Mauka area rules relating to the Kaka'ako Mauka Community Development District were last amended in 2011. The proposed amendments to the Mauka area rules are intended to promote public benefits, enhance the urban realm, and streamline permit reviews. These amendments include clarifications to existing rules, simplification of permit reviews, and implementation of planning best practices. The amended rules will expand the applicability of rules clearances and will add a new renovation permit, temporary use permit, and zoning clearance in order to streamline redevelopment and facilitate investment in existing properties in Kaka'ako Mauka. Minimum parking requirements are being eliminated to align with the city and county of Honolulu policies. Parking will also be included in the floor area ratio calculations in order to provide additional design flexibility around transit and pedestrian-oriented development. The proposed incentive zoning rules will allow increased building density on selected parcels in exchange for the voluntary provision of enhanced community benefits such as affordable housing or community facilities. Finally, language is also being added to reflect Act 221, Session Laws 2023, which amends HRS Section 206E-33 to require the authority to consider climate change, sea level rise, and climate resilient development in the design and siting of buildings. The authority is conducting today's public hearing to present the rule amendments and collect public testimony. There'll be no decision-making on the proposed amendments today. Legal notice, a public hearing notice was published in the Honolulu Star Advertiser of Maui News, the Garden Isle, Hawaii Tribune Herald, and West Hawaii Today on Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Chair?
Thank you, Executive Director Nakamoto. Let me briefly explain our procedures for today's public hearing. First, HCDA staff will present its report. Following that presentation, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. Finally, we will take public testimony in the order that individuals have signed up. Individual comments will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Only members of the authority will be permitted to ask questions of the public. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you may have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, the communications staff will unmute your mic, clearly state your name and any organization that you're representing. I'll be acting as the presiding officer for this hearing. Are there any questions to these procedures? If not, we will now begin our proceedings. HCDA's Director of Planning and Development, Ryan Tam, will now present the staff's report. Ryan?
Good morning, Chair Ishii and board members. I do have a short PowerPoint presentation, which there. So,
Sometimes this system slow.
It's coming up.
again, so this morning we're here to talk about the Hakako Mauka area rules. So again, this is the area from Alamoana Boulevard stretching up out to Punch Bowl, up to King Street, east on the dominant side to Pequoy and the downtown Alamoana Boulevard. Again, this process has been underway for quite a number of years now. Extensive public outreach sessions were done in 2020, 2021 timeframe. Again, the goals of the Mauka area rules amendments, we're trying to reflect the needs of the community, reduce red tape, simplify permits, promote livable, walkable communities, implement incentive zoning to promote the development of community benefits, and increase reserve housing in the district. In general, again, I think many of these slides I've presented in the past, but just in general, the rules include a lot of clarifications, items that we were trying to address that have come up over the years. So clarifications, executive director interpretations that have come up. One of the key strategies is to streamline the permits. So again, try to get permits that are more tailored to the type of work that is being done. So again, under the current rules, we have the development permit for large projects. We have improvement permits and rules clearances. Again, we've tried to break it up so that there are more smaller permits that are more easily approvable. that are tied to, renovations, permits, smaller improvement permits, and zoning clearances. So again, trying to tailor the permitting to the type of work. Again, same approach that we've done in Mackay, and that we're also looking to implement in Kalawa. One of the big initiatives is also to undertake parking reform. So again, trying to get consistent with the city and county of Honolulu, ordinance 2041. Again, eliminating the parking minimums. Throughout the ordinance 2041, eliminated parking minimums come throughout the primary urban center. We're implementing this in Kaka'ako. HCD, we're proposing to go a little further by also including parking as floor area, so that then developers can make the decisions as to optimize whether or not land is best used as parking or as for other inhabitable uses. In doing so, the base floor area ratio is going up from 3.5 to 5.5. And that's roughly in line with the amount of floor area that's been used traditionally for parking in Kaka'ako. The staff and over the years have done some studies on that. We are also proposing to require the disclosure of parking costs. In the sale of condo units. The other major initiative is to utilize incentive zoning to achieve community benefits. So again, the concept is to allow larger projects in exchange for public benefits such as open space plazas. This was recommended by the authorities Kaka'ako Affordable Rental Task Housing Force in 2018. Maximum floor area ratio would go up from 6.5 to 10, including parking. And again, this is voluntary within incentive zones only. And these on this map are shown in purple. So just for floor area ratio as a concept, again, it's the floor area divided by the lot area. So if you can see in this example on the left, currently in a building, we'd have to provide 20% reserve housing. If we allowed them to add another 2.0 FAR, that would be the area in blue. We could increase the number of reserve housing units to 30%. If we increased it FAR by another 6.5, say they add another tower, that's all again all in blue, we could increase the number of reserve housing units to 50% plus add other benefits. And so there are a number of other types of examples of other benefits that we were allowing additional floor area in exchange for micro units, urban agriculture, public facilities, shelter hardening, dog parks, for example. So the next couple of slides just go through the different types of proposed incentives in a little more detail. So live work. Again, reserve housing units up to 45%, reserve housing units with a FAR 4.0. Public open space, I could get a bonus of 0.5 FAR. Some amenities. Environmental benefits such as shelter hardening, so providing a safe space in terms of hurricanes, 2.0 FAR, emergency power, other examples of benefits that could be incentivized through this. Urban form, even things like cultural restoration, right, 0.5 FAR. Other types of facilities, public dog parks, as I mentioned, pavilions, farmers markets, again, a range of FARs that could be bonuses. Other things that we're aiming to do, improve planning. We want to increase the height limits to 100 feet in the Sheridan neighborhood. adding additional flexibility to meet complete streets, again, to try to match the city's, initiatives. We did, again, the staff did, work with the, TUI of Native Hawaiian, cultural, representatives in the past, also other community stakeholders. Since we provided the previous draft in September 2023, some of the major changes we're looking at adopting. Previously, we had proposed to allow business hotels as an allowed use in the district. Recently, the Mauka Neighborhood Board number 11 did pass a resolution, I guess requesting or urging that hotels are not allowed in this neighborhood. So for now, we're going to, I guess, take out the business hotels as an allowed use. Also, we propose to increase the allowable height limit on block 51 up to 400 feet. That's at Restaurant Row. Again, that after kind of further analysis, there's some FAA height issues. Also, it's next to the Civic Center, Hawaii Capital Historic District, and so I think we want to just be a little more sensitive to that for now. Again, I have a more detailed list of edits that we've gone through. We are still kind of working on addressing a lot of these issues. We did get comments recently from PBR Hawaii, some good detailed comments, and we're going to be also analyzing that and incorporating that. But again, a lot of these edits are similar to what we've incorporated into the Makai rules. Clarifying definitions throughout, trying to align the processes to ensure that street trees, for example, is coordinated with the city Department of Planning and Permitting and Division of Urban Forestry. I could go through these in detail or summarize it, yeah. And so again, throughout, referencing updating references to flood zones to 1761, requiring that retail commercial spaces 1763D that they're active commercial fronting in civic space that thoroughfares. Again, I think we can also put this copy of the updated changes on the website so that they're accessible. And as we also continue refining the final draft, we'll also document these. Yeah, just clarifications on the permits, variances, again, as we did in Makai, 15 to 1782. Again, all variances now subject to authority review and action. So we took out the minor and major variances, also adding a provision regarding the deprivation of usable use. So that's a typical provision that's in to be considered when looking at variances. Yeah, we updated the fee schedule and provided more examples about minor changes. Again, I think all the changes will be posting the latest drafts on the project website. And subject to any questions from board members, that concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Members, do you have any questions on the staff report? Member Evans?
Thank you. I'd like to comment favorably on the change to street trees with canopies. I think we're all familiar with some of the trees that are put into parking lots that have no canopy at all and are, not helpful in terms of reducing heat stress as we get into a hotter climate. So thank you for that. I have a question, Chair. For the elimination of minimal parking requirements, it's a concern and a question. Will 201H projects that have to be 51% affordable be allowed to eliminate parking? Because the concern is that lower income units developers may take advantage of that to increase the number of units and eliminate parking, whereas our market units, developers knowing that they won't be able to sell them without a parking space, will have parking. So you'll have an unequal situation. And I think that lower income families need a parking space as much as market rate buyers do.
Thank you, Member Evans. Right.
I believe that under 201H, they would be able to, and I can look at, we can certainly look at this for the detail, but I think under 201H, they actually could get around the parking minimums already, I would believe.
I think so too.
I think in general, we're trying to promote, reduce construction costs, promote more housing, more development. And also with the implementation of, high capacity transit in the district, that would provide a lot of opportunities for more, transit oriented development.
Well, I think we'll look into it, Member
Yeah.
Evans. And I just want to note that on the Nohona Hale project, there is no parking at Nohona Hale, and it's been a successful, affordable rental project. But we will look into it, Member Evans.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Member Sakota?
Good morning. Happy New Year. Along
Morning.
those lines about parking, right? So this is something that I guess I've questioned all the time in terms of looking at the other cities, and specifically like New York City and Chicago, where there is no parking for a lot of the condos within the city. But as on a long-term horizon, do you have any sense of how Honolulu is gonna get to that point where we're building condos with no parking and the public transportation is good enough to get you wherever you need to go? Or is that just kind of like, it doesn't all come together just yet?
So, it is a chicken and an egg, right? We need to have the transit system, good transit. I mean, we already do have good transit. And if you look at, a lot of the communities like, Waikiki, has a lot of transit usage. A lot of people live there, very little parking, in a lot of those buildings. One of the things that we actually, have written in is also, requesting that to the extent possible that parking structures are actually designed to be convertible to inhabitable use. So it's one of the things that we also wanted to get into the rules. And so I think over time, we have these structures, we haven't built the building stock that's going in now, but over time these could get adapted as transit gets more well utilized. In the future, autonomous vehicles, all different types of electric transport technologies, shared mobility have an opportunity to really transform how we get around. Also, the city's implementation of, constructing more bike lanes, complete streets. So it'll evolve over time. I guess that's my hope or my sense.
Any other further comments, member Sakota?
On a separate item, but it's just reading the report. I'm kind of interested in how they come up with the bonus FAR numbers. Like you build a pickleball court and you get 1.0 FAR, right? I mean, that seems it seems to me like random, but can you comment a little bit on that?
Actually can't. I know a lot of this work was started actually before last year when I joined the agency. But I think the staff went through it and analyzed it and made some recommendations.
And I think Member Sakota is prior to Ryan's time starting here, it went through a lot of community outreach and also with working groups, with landowners and developers to kind of vet some of these incentives. And I think it went through and we got comments and this is the result of it.
Okay, that's fine. Final comment. Just I appreciate the member Evans' comment about shade trees and everything like that, but monkey pod trees like once a year just gets nasty on the streets. I mean, they've got pods falling on people and all the sticky stuff on the roads. So if possible, we could find another type of shade tree that doesn't give off so much, pods once a year.
For sure. Noted. And I know at one point there were some researchers, arborists on Oahu, that were looking at trying to engineer different types of monkey pod trees that didn't shed as much. We are actually trying to make the rules a lot more flexible so that the trees are suggested, but that it can be coordinated, consulted with the city and the executive director. So
okay.
We do. I think the key is to again provide some kind of canopy, address some of the heat effects that come with adaptation, climate change, and try to address that. I will note also, I think one of the most recent coordination with the city, we found that, or we understand that, palm trees actually aren't going to be doing so well in the future, basically due to the coconut rhinoceros beetle. And so we're going to also try to adjust the rules just to focus shade trees.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Actually, I got one more, Jason. I'm sorry. Just reading through the report, there's one parcel in the Kakako area that the height was increased to 400 feet.
Yep.
Can I get a little comment on what that parcel is and why is that? Why was that change made?
So previously, I think staff had recommended, and the parcel is Restaurant Row. They recommended that a portion of that get allowed to go up to 400 feet, just to be consistent with the rest of all the other parcels along Elmore Boulevard. I think, like I said, there are a number of issues. The FAA, I think, it falls right at the edge of the FAA approach slope. I think just being sensitive to the Capital Historic District, the lower height limits there. I think we wanted to maybe not necessarily consider that change at this time. And in previous versions, we'd also looked at increasing the height limits to 400 feet along Queen Street. but that we previously, also have, walked back, due to, concerns with, infrastructure adequacy and also, the, character of the neighborhood.
Got you, Ryan. On the report, there's like a proposed change number 25. That's the one that I guess caught my eye. Was in the notes it says one parcel in central Kaka'ako adjacent to the Kapiolani neighborhood zone increases from 65 to 400 feet. I couldn't determine what parcel that was.
I'll get back to you on that if that's okay.
Okay, all right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member
Thank
Sakota.
you.
Member Sakota brought up same question I was gonna ask, which is the FARs.
Yeah.
I think it should be reevaluated and relooked at to align with strategically what we're trying to achieve. And incentivize certain areas that we want.
Okay.
If it means environmental, if it means other areas that we're trying to achieve as a PCDA organization, I think we should look at that.
Need the bonuses.
Yes.
So giving additional bonuses in certain areas?
Yeah, or lowering in certain areas that may not be in alignment with what we're trying to achieve
Okay,
from a development perspective.
okay,
I just think we should we should look at that versus sort of, again, it's constantly moving, constantly shifting, so we should take a look at, even if the staff had looked at it previously in the past.
okay.
That's just my comment.
Alright.
Okay. Any other questions? Member Higa?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to commend Janet, Ryan, and the whole team for their excellent work. I'm especially glad to see the addition of incentive zones and the removal of minimum parking requirements. And, just to counter Mariella slightly, who I deeply respect, I believe that removing the minimum parking requirements is actually the key to making housing affordable for low-income families, many of whom don't own cars. So parking adds between 12 to 25% to the cost of affordable housing when land costs are high, as they are in Kaka'ako. So minimum parking requirements of any amount, whether it's 0.9 or 1, unit per stall per unit, actually price low-income families out from having access to the affordable housing. So I'm glad that we're lining up with the city on this, and I hope that the rest of the state does too.
Thank you, Vice Chair Higa.
Thank you.
Member Evans?
I wanted to comment on the FAA's jurisdiction over the airport approach areas. In our Transit-Oriented Development Council, we have encountered the fact that the FAA's one engine inoperable policies kick in when a building applies for a building permit. And so even though we may allow for certain height amounts in their area, they may also at the time of the building permit application, the FAA may comment, no, they're not going to allow that high of a amount. They have a three-dimensional cone around the airport that takes into the account that airplanes may, in an emergency landing, require to come in lower than they normally do over certain parts of the different approaches for DKI. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Evans. Is there any other comments, members? Or questions on the staff report? If not, we will go to public testimony. Since the notice of public hearing was published on Thursday, November 30th, 2023, and written testimony invited, as of today, the HCDA has received 2 written testimonies, 2 with comments and 0 in opposition. We will now take verbal public testimony. We will now start We'll now hear testimony from the public. Speakers will be called upon to testify in the order in which they have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might be provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments at the time you have available. When you're called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you're representing. And the first person that signed up is Tom Chanel. Tom Chanel.
Chanel, his testimony here too.
Tom Chanel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Happy New Year.
Let me try to turn on my camera. Can you see me? No.
Not yet.
No video.
No video, that's why, that's right.
So yeah, go ahead, Tom.
All right, sorry. Hi, yeah, thank you, Chair and board members and Executive Director Nakamoto and HCDA staff. PBR Hawaii has submitted written testimony yesterday. A little bit about PBR Hawaii. We're a planning and landscape architecture firm. We've been in business over 50 years in Hawaii. We're submitting our testimony on behalf of our firm, and we have represented over the years many clients within Kaka'ako, including Alexander and Baldwin, F&F Land Corporation, who owns the building where the original Pancake House used to be in, Jana Automotive Group, Lilio Kalani Trust, Prospect Properties, and Howard Hughes Corporation. And many of our staff also, well, several of our staff now live in Kaka'ako, thanks to reserved housing and other, and also regular market housing. And you know, we have a vested interest in looking forward to the development of Kaka'ako, as planned as the active mixed-use community. And so with those considerations, we've submitted comments that we hope are, well, they are intended to be constructive comments to ensure that the rules are clear, consistent, can be applied evenly and without excessive interpretation and need for clarification. And I know our comments are detailed and specific, so I won't go into each comment specifically unless there's a question on that. But we also welcome the opportunity to meet with HCDA staff to go over our comments or clarify anything in the coming weeks. One issue I'd like to bring up is the issue of compliance with Chapter 343 HRS and regarding an environmental impact statement for the rules. I know an EIS was done before the 2011 rules, and an EIS was done at the time of for the Kaka'ako TOD overlay plan. And since the proposed amendments implement many of the TOD overlay plan recommendations, I guess I was wondering, is it HCDA's understanding that the updated rules are in compliance with 343 already, or would there perhaps be another EIS that would be needed for the amended rules? And I say that because I think that the TOD overlay EIS looked at what's being called incentive zones now, and looked at increased densities and some of the changes that are being proposed in the rules now, and looked at the impact of that. But I'm not sure that TOD overlay, looked at it on a district-wide basis, which some of the rules now are implementing on a district-wide basis. That was just an opening question, and then I do have a suggestion too. There's a process that staff can go through to, or HCDA as a board can go through to have a prior EIS recognized as being sufficient to cover Chapter 343, and that a new EIS would not be needed. So I would suggest perhaps if you wanted to look at section, it's HAR 11-200.1-11, which sets forth that process where you could perhaps have the previous EISs deemed sufficient to cover the proposed amendments to the rules.
Thanks, Mr. Still. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snell. And we did receive your written comments, and it is something that we will be reviewing as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Still.
Is there any other public testimony? If there isn't, is anyone present that wants to testify? No. If there's no public testimony, I'll proceed with the closing of today's hearing. If there's no comments or discussions, then on behalf of HCDA authority members and its staff, I thank you for your attendance. A decision-making hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024 at 9:00 a.m. virtually on Zoom, and the physical meeting site will also be available. This public hearing on the applicant's presentation of its projects now stands adjourned, and the time is now 9:42. Thank you. We will start the regular general meeting at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.